Hello there gang, DD DeVere here on another Past Blast, playing a little bit of Quake 2. This was of course released back in 1997, and was as ever developed by id Software and published by Activision. So I'm going to skip the settings and the options today for reasons I'll explain as we get into the game. So what we'll do is get straight into the game. I'm going to play it on Girls' Night Out, just for the sake of brevity, and we'll skip the introduction, though that is still an epic introduction by today's standards. Alright, so this is Quake 2. And of course at the beginning of the game, so we're stuck with a pistol. So there's definitely some subtle changes from the original Quake. Now the original Quake of course was really in many ways just really very much like Doom. You had your main centre hub with your 4 areas, and you then pick them and they were thematically similar. This was quite a departure for gaming at the time, especially by id standards, because of course by now John Romero had actually left the company, and he was the one who was pushing for the whole gothic horror, old school action type. Well, old school action. It wasn't old school then, obviously it was brand new action. But he was the main driving behind that. Now, with him gone, the rest of the team wanted to develop a more thematically complete game. So in that case, they decided to make a full, actual story-driven campaign game this time round. And this is the result. So it's not directly related to the original Quake at all. There is still a hub later on of sorts, but it's all related to the mission. And of course, being an old school shooter, yes, there's always secrets to be found. So this is really quite an evolution, really, on the path to gaming. This was, I mean, it is obviously the same. I mean, it wasn't originally going to be a Quake game. It was supposed to be its own IP, developed separately. But because of how similar the gameplay was compared to the original Quake, they decided, and because of course with how much of a massive seller and success Quake had been, full 3D Doom basically, so they decided to oh, that's a terrible shot. They decided to go with the Quake label, and that's basically that's the only real similarities. It's certainly not related to the original Quake at all. So this time around it is full sci-fi adventure, much more story linear driven campaign, and it's just lots of smooth refinements. I mean, it starts, you can hear the rather kicking soundtrack. So that's why I didn't show you options. This is actually a modded version. This is Yamagi, or the Yamagi fix. Now I will of course put let's just try and make sure you was finished off. I will of course put the link in the description below. It's easy enough to install and well worth doing. Very well worth doing, because it not only gives modern resolution support, but it also restores the original soundtrack, which is what you hear now, because of course back in the day the soundtrack was actually taken straight off the CD, but that's not available on the Steam version. And in fairness, this game does actually play pretty nicely out the box. I'm not going to make excuses here for my sloppy shooting, but I am actually not playing on my normal setup at the moment. I've got this sort of cloth mouse mat that drags more than normal. not claiming to be any sort of pro skilled gamer. If you've seen my other gameplay videos, you know that to be the truth. See, this is just really sort of quite evolutionary in that respect. Or yeah, it's more evolution than revolution, unlike the earlier games, of course. In so far as it. So that's why you want to make sure you finish them off. They sometimes will take a shot at you. Because of course at the time it was very much the Doom style shooters, which of course were all developed by id anyway. But this was the big attempt to take it into a more linear story driven campaign, which is funny because John Carmack once said story and plot in a FPS shooter is like plotting a porno. So he must have seen quite a few pornos to get his plot lines from, I'm guessing. See there, I'm getting ripped by guys who are dying. So So really, in many ways, it's kind of more. It's very similar to the original Quake. That's why they took the name. What's another one? He's there. There's something here for. Yeah, recoil on the weapons. So this is just such a nice smoothing of everything, really. All the mechanics. It's all nicely, still fast paced, still the full 3D. Once again, proving that the Quake series was always the better shooter. I always thought that back then. I still think it now. To be honest with you, So I was explaining about the mod, wasn't I? So the Yamagi mod. Yamagi is. I'll put a link in the description below, as I always do. It's easy enough. You just basically download your Steam version of it. Or, I don't know if it works with the other versions, but it definitely works with the Steam version. And then you download the mod, extract it. Once you've extracted it, point it towards your Steam, to where your Steam is, towards. I don't want you to get too close, they can punch you quite hard. Point it to where your install is, and then boom, Bob's your uncle, you can just hit play. And it will restore, it'll give you the modern resolutions, and it will also, I had a lot of trouble with this jump recently. Ah, there we go, that's better. It'll give you the modern resolution support, and it'll give you the original soundtrack. Oh dear, sloppy shooting. Although again, this is the easy level, so not that big an issue anyway. But even, as I say, honestly, this is actually pretty playable out of the box for one of these old school games. Even if you without the modern resolution support. Oh, didn't get punched, but still got shot. So all in all, it's fast, it's smooth, it's fluid, and of course, being an old school game, there's quite a few mods available for it as well. Oh, just scrolled by my grenades, I didn't. It's on top of the different source ports. This is because it's of course the source port, and that's one of the other things that really makes this game quite important. Was obviously the Quake engine, and what hasn't it been used on? But there was a small independent company by the name of Valve who were working on a game at the time, their first game, and they bought a license to use this engine and modified it to be the gold source engine, and of course the game they released was Half-Life. So that was basically built on this engine. So the Quake engine really at the time, Call of Duty, it's all built on the Quake engine. So it's not only its own contribution towards gaming itself, this did start a more story-driven FPS, the more linear campaign-driven FPSs, but also, the amount of games that also got made. That's probably the worst gun to use for this bit, for taking him down. Well, I'm saying that, then I've got to shoot him, haven't I, first? Right, that's it. Let's switch back to a shotgun. Know where we stand with that. Or rather, well, we don't do much standing. Or we do. Anything around you doesn't. Of course, being old school shotgun, queen of the battlefield. They're still awesome back then before they got... Oh, you know what? Damn, I want to get this guy down as quick as I can. Plenty of circle strafing. Is he? Oh my lord, he's still up. Some very inventive enemies in this game as well. Some really great enemy types as you go through the game. Oh, I've got to be very careful. I don't want to detonate those barrels because I've got my quad damage. So of course there's now an inventory system as well, which you can access through tabs. It's a bit of a mess. And you activate items as you need them. So yeah, it's not so much evolution as revolution as evolution. Get it the right way around. But it's really still an excellent, fast-paced game. Lots of gore, lots of great enemies, very good level design, of course, that you'd expect from id Software, because they were really on fire at this point in time. They really were. They didn't seem to be able to produce a bad game, and as I say, I was always more of a Quake player than anything else anyway. we're after, some shards. I didn't mean to walk into that, because I knew he was going to do that, and I dropped back out the lift. Let's switch back to the... oh no, it's got plenty of shotgun shells, what am I thinking? Oh, I think I'd learn by now. Don't turn your back on them. Oh, I know what I did want to get right. There we go. So yeah, strafe jumping and that is to get your secrets and your collectibles is still quite important. That's right, you come here. So this one really has stood the test of time well, and as I say, it's even if you don't want to download anything like, you know, the Yamagi fixer, you really should. It's still incredibly playable out the box without it. It runs, at least it ran pretty well on my Windows 10 system. Right, now this is where I want to... oh, I accidentally hit the wrong bloody button. I wanted my quad damage. Oh, wasted my rebreather now. Alright, target's completed. That's our first mission. So yeah, all in all, low cost you can pick these games up. Excellent value for money. Still quite, especially when you play at a harder level, still quite punishingly difficult in places, as you'd expect from these sort of style shooters. The fact, of course, there's lots of user-made content available still for it. That was one of the other beauties of these style games, of course. Great enemy selection, great music tracks. I mean, Trent Reznor had been part of the original Quake audio team, and this time around they had Rob Zombie on. Oh, I didn't get the key. Oh well. We'll probably include our dealings anyway here, gang. Quake 2. Yeah, absolutely another scorching hit for id. Of course, this was one of the things, is everything was brown. They really brought this brown tone to gaming, which got quite silly for a while. But yeah, that was the other thing it brought. But fast-paced action, great tune, story-driven game. So yeah, all in all, well worth it. Still stood the test time brilliantly. And so put the Yamagi fix in the description. So download that, and that will give you the modern resolutions, and it also gives you the cracking original soundtrack back as well, which definitely fits the pacing of the game. So there we all. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. Hopefully you found it useful and entertaining in some way, and as ever, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to let me know you're alive, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.